Movement is often misunderstood as something we do to the body, as if the body were a stubborn object that must be corrected, pushed, or disciplined. But modern biology, echoed quietly by the wisdom of Japan's oldest physicians, suggests something far more subtle and profound. Movement is a language. Every time we rise from a chair, stretch an arm, or take a careful step, we are speaking directly to ourselves. Muscles, nerves, hormones, and immune signals are constantly interpreting these actions, asking a simple question: is this environment safe enough to invest in repair or dangerous enough to prioritize survival? When movement is rushed, violent, or driven by fear of aging, the body hears threat. Stress hormones rise, inflammation quietly increases, and tissues harden in preparation for impact. But when movement is calm, intentional, and respectful of limits, a different message is delivered. The nervous system shifts toward balance, breathing deepens, and cells receive biochemical permission to maintain themselves. This is not philosophy alone, it is observable in how gentle physical activity improves mitochondrial function, stabilizes blood sugar, and regulates immune responses without exhausting the system. The oldest doctors in Japan often emphasize that exercise should leave the body feeling informed, not punished. The body is always adapting, but it adapts specifically to what it perceives. Slow walking tells the heart that endurance matters. Controlled movements tell joints they are still needed. Gentle resistance tells muscles they must stay metabolically active. These signals accumulate quietly over years, shaping how the body allocates energy, how efficiently it repairs damage, and how resilient it becomes against disease. Scientific curiosity reveals that even at the cellular level, movement alters gene expression. Certain genes responsible for inflammation and cellular decay become quieter when the body experiences regular, non-threatening activity. Others associated with repair and longevity become more active. This process does not require intensity, it requires clarity. The body does not count repetitions the way the mind does. It listens for rhythm, consistency, and safety. There is also compassion embedded in this idea. Many people stop moving as they age not because they are incapable, but because they are afraid of pain, imbalance, or failure. Gentle exercise reframes movement as dialogue rather than confrontation. When the body feels heard, it responds with cooperation rather than resistance. Pain softens, stiffness loosens, and confidence slowly returns, not as a dramatic breakthrough, but as a quiet restoration of trust. In this light, living longer is not about extending time by force, but about convincing the body that time is worth investing in. Each thoughtful movement becomes a vote for continuation, a signal that the organism is still engaged with the world. Exercise becomes less about adding years and more about sustaining the conversation between intention and biology, where the body, feeling respected and informed, chooses again and again to remain present, adaptive, and willing to participate in the unfolding of life, responding not to urgency or fear, but to a steady message of care, continuity, and safety that never demands perfection, only sincerity in motion, attention in breath, and a willingness to listen as the body speaks back through sensation, balance, warmth, and subtle strength building beneath awareness. Stability is often overlooked because it is quiet. It does not announce itself with visible strength or dramatic effort, yet it forms the foundation of every movement the body makes. Before speed, before power, before endurance, the nervous system asks a more basic question: can this body remain upright without fear? Balance is not merely a mechanical skill, it is a biological signal that shapes how the brain regulates stress, confidence, and long-term health. From the soles of the feet to the inner ear, the body is constantly mapping its position in space. Small stabilizing muscles, rarely noticed, send continuous feedback to the brain about pressure, angle, and alignment. When these signals are clear and reliable, the nervous system relaxes. Heart rate variability improves, muscles release unnecessary tension, and inflammation gradually decreases. Science now shows that poor balance is not just a risk for falls, but a marker of accelerated aging, cognitive decline, and systemic stress. Gentle balance practices, standing on one leg, slow transitions from sitting to standing, controlled squatting, retrain these sensory pathways. They do not strain the body, they reassure it. The brain learns that the environment is predictable and that the body can respond without panic. This sense of trust changes posture, breathing, and even hormonal output. Cortisol levels soften, while growth and repair signals regain priority. As people age, fear often becomes the hidden enemy. A single stumble can imprint caution into the nervous system, leading to reduced movement, stiffness, and further instability. The body tightens in anticipation, which ironically increases the risk of falling. Balance work interrupts this cycle. By practicing stability in a calm setting, the body relearns that it can sway, adjust, and recover. This confidence is not psychological alone, it is etched into neural circuits and muscle memory. There is dignity in stability, the ability to stand up smoothly, walk without hesitation, and change direction without anxiety preserves independence and self-respect. These moments may seem small, but biologically they are powerful. Each successful act of balance reinforces neural pathways that keep reaction time sharp and coordination intact. The brain remains engaged, the muscles responsive, and the body alert without being tense. Japanese longevity culture places deep respect on this kind of movement. Stability is not trained aggressively, it is cultivated patiently. Floors are walked barefoot, postures are mindful, and everyday motions become opportunities to maintain equilibrium. This constant low-level engagement keeps stabilizing systems active without exhaustion. It is exercise hidden inside daily life. On a cellular level, balance work subtly improves circulation to joints and connective tissue, delivering nutrients while removing inflammatory waste. The body interprets smooth, controlled motion as a sign of safety, allowing tissues to remain supple rather than armored. Over time, this reduces chronic pain and preserves range of motion without force. Balance teaches a philosophical lesson as well. It reminds us that longevity does not begin with ambition, but with reassurance. When the body feels grounded, it is more willing to move, to adapt, and to invest energy in the future. Balance becomes a quiet agreement between the body and the world, where fear loosens its grip and motion becomes fluid again, allowing life to continue unfolding with confidence, presence, and calm readiness, rather than urgency or resistance, supported by a deep internal sense that standing, walking, and being upright are not risks to endure, but natural states the body remembers and trusts once more. With time, the body does not simply grow older, it grows tighter. Stress, repetition, and emotional strain slowly reduce the natural elasticity that once allowed tissues to glide, stretch, and rebound with ease. This loss of flexibility is often accepted as inevitable, yet biology suggests it is more negotiable than we assume. At the center of this negotiation are slow stretching, spinal movement, and the breath, working together to remind the body how to remain fluid. For many years, connective tissue was viewed as passive support, something that merely held structures in place. Today, we understand that this web of fascia is richly innervated, sensitive, and responsive to movement and hydration. When the body is rushed or held rigid for long periods, this network dries and stiffens, limiting circulation and amplifying pain signals. Gentle stretching restores motion between layers of tissue, allowing nutrients and fluids to flow again without triggering defensive tension. The spine plays a special role in this process. It houses the nervous system and acts as the central highway of communication between brain and body. When spinal movement becomes limited, signals slow and distort, often manifesting as stiffness, fatigue, or discomfort far from the original restriction. Slow rotations, controlled bends, and subtle extensions stimulate spinal nerves without overload. These movements encourage symmetry and balance, reminding the nervous system that motion can be safe, predictable, and restorative. Breathing deepens the effect. Slow, deliberate breaths coordinate with stretching to calm the autonomic nervous system. As the diaphragm moves, it massages internal organs, improves lymphatic flow, and stabilizes blood chemistry. This rhythm reduces background stress and lowers the constant low-grade inflammation associated with accelerated aging. In this state, tissues soften not because they are forced, but because they no longer feel the need to protect. Scientific observation confirms that consistent, gentle stretching improves circulation, joint health, and recovery capacity. But beyond measurable outcomes lies something more subtle. When movement is slow enough to feel, attention naturally follows. Sensation becomes information, guiding the body toward its limits without crossing them. This attentiveness prevents injury and builds trust, allowing flexibility to increase gradually rather than being demanded suddenly. Elasticity is not only physical. A flexible body supports a flexible nervous system. People who stretch regularly often report improved sleep, emotional regulation, and mental clarity. This is not coincidence. The same signals that relax muscles also quiet excessive neural noise. The brain shifts from constant vigilance to receptive awareness, conserving energy and improving repair processes during rest. In cultures that value longevity, stretching is rarely separated from daily life. Sitting, standing, reaching, and turning are done with awareness, allowing micro-movements to maintain tissue health throughout the day. This approach avoids the extremes of inactivity and overtraining. The body is neither neglected nor attacked. It is gently reminded to remain adaptable. Elastic tissues age more slowly because they distribute force evenly and recover efficiently. They protect joints, preserve posture, and support graceful movement. Over time, this reduces pain and fatigue, allowing the body to remain engaged with the world. Stretching and breathing become acts of preservation rather than correction, sustaining an internal environment where movement feels natural, circulation remains smooth, and the body continues to interpret each day as an invitation to stay supple, responsive, and alive within its changing form, maintaining continuity between effort and ease, structure and flow, effort and release, as the years pass and motion remains an expression of vitality rather than a negotiation with stiffness. Movement is often separated from thought, as if the mind commands and the body obeys. Yet biology tells a more intertwined story. Every coordinated motion engages the brain as deeply as it engages muscle. When movements are intentional and rhythmic, they stimulate neural networks responsible for memory, timing, emotion, and awareness. In this way, exercise becomes a form of nourishment for the mind as much as the body. Simple, coordinated actions, reaching, turning, shifting weight, synchronizing breath with motion, activate multiple brain regions simultaneously. The cerebellum, once thought to manage only balance, is now known to influence cognition and emotional regulation. When movements require attention and precision, neural circuits remain active and adaptable. This continuous stimulation protects against the gradual narrowing of brain function that often accompanies aging. Reaction time and coordination are not merely physical skills. They reflect how efficiently the brain processes information. Slow, mindful transitions between positions challenge the nervous system to predict, adjust, and respond. These micro-decisions keep neural pathways flexible. Over time, this reduces the risk of cognitive decline by maintaining communication between sensory input and motor output. The brain remains engaged with the body rather than retreating into abstraction.
There is also an emotional resonance to intentional movement. When motion is rushed or chaotic, the nervous system interprets uncertainty. When movement is calm and deliberate, it signals safety. This safety allows emotional regulation centers to function more smoothly. Anxiety softens, mood stabilizes, and attention broadens. These effects are not accidental. They arise from deep evolutionary wiring that links physical coordination with survival confidence. In older age, many people experience a gradual disconnect between intention and action. Movements become hesitant, reaction slows, and confidence diminishes. Coordinated exercises rebuild this connection. They remind the brain that it can still guide the body accurately. Each successful motion reinforces trust, encouraging further engagement. This feedback loop preserves both physical capability and mental clarity. Japanese longevity traditions often emphasize practices that appear simple but demand presence. Slow hand movements, deliberate walking, and mindful posture engage awareness without strain. These movements are not about exertion, but about coherence. The body moves as a unified system, and the mind remains anchored in sensation rather than distraction. This integration supports resilience against cognitive fatigue and emotional fragmentation. Neuroscience shows that learning new movement patterns stimulates neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize and adapt. Even small variations, changing tempo, direction, or coordination, challenge the brain to remain flexible. This adaptability is a hallmark of longevity. A brain that continues to learn remains capable of regulating the body effectively. On a deeper level, intentional movement nurtures meaning. It invites presence into the body, drawing attention away from rumination and toward lived experience. Each motion becomes a moment of awareness, reinforcing the sense of being alive rather than merely existing. This presence has measurable effects on stress hormones and immune function, creating a biological environment that supports health. When movement is approached as mental nourishment, exercise transforms into practice rather than task. The body becomes a partner in awareness, and the brain becomes grounded in sensation. Together, they sustain each other through ongoing dialogue. This dialogue preserves coordination, memory, and emotional balance, allowing the individual to remain responsive, alert, and connected to the world, maintaining clarity and engagement through the years as motion continues to teach the brain how to stay awake, adaptive, and intimately involved in the unfolding experience of being human.